What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the North Shore 9 Postgame Show. Following a Pirates sweep of the Kansas City Royals, I'm Jim. With me is Doug. Doug, what a series.
Hey, listen, tonight is a blue moon, right? And it's the last one, the last full blue moon until 2037. So it just made sense that the Pirates, because it's about every blue moon that the Pirates go on the road and get a sweep. I will mention that Jim Rosati on these very airways Monday morning during Starbucks predicted a Pirate sweep. DiNardo laughed him down. And Jim called it. And again, you could say, well, it's the Royals and they're terrible. Yes, but it's the Pirates and we're terrible. So we just don't go around sweeping teams that often. So it was a good call, Jim. Good on you. Yeah, and they played well. I mean, we acknowledge the Royals are terrible. I mean, they're terrible. Yeah. But the Pirates pitched well. They fielded well. They hit well. And a lot of it was the guys that you're looking forward to and counting on next year, right? It was Brian Reynolds and Brian Hayes and, hopefully Peguero and Andre Jackson. I will say that I find Andre Jackson compelling and interesting. I don't know if I'm quite ready to go intriguing quite yet. I don't know if I'm intrigued, but I am interested.
The intrigue question was brought up a few times in the Discord, but no, I need to use my hype man, Doug. Pirates. Yeah, what a series.
No Rosati curse. There's no such thing.
No such thing. No such thing. Yeah, I did call this on Monday. DiNardo said what's going to happen. I said Pirates were going to sweep. Here we are, 4-1 victory. Yeah, let's kind of get into it. I think the person we want to talk about first and foremost, Andre Jackson. I'm still. It's one of those deals where, again, intriguing. I don't really like using that word, but.
I mean, I think you're contractually obligated.
He has looked very, very useful, in his short time here with the Pirates. He's 27 years old. He's got a track record. But he started off those first few games looking really good. His last few outings have been bad to fine, but today 5 2/3 innings, just gives up the 2 hits to 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. He struck out the first 5 batters of this game, Doug, which hadn't been done before since Bruce Keeson in 1979. First time
World Series winning year of 1979.
Yeah. First time a Pirates starter has done that. He was on tonight, and like you mentioned, like the Royals are not a good team, right? They're bad. They're mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, and we're not even in September, right? That's how bad we're talking. So yeah, you expect that the Pirates should look pretty competent in this series, but man, he dominated the Royals lineup. Bobby Wood Jr. was the only one to get to him with a solo home run, and he's really the only person in this Royals lineup who is any good. But yeah, Jackson did exactly he did more than what you could ask from him tonight.
Absolutely. I mean, he's easy to dismiss. He is a waiver claim on a team that has had an endless parade of waiver claims that have not been worth the time. I give him a little more credit than that. He was waived by the Dodgers. The Dodgers are a very good team. Dodgers are competing for playoffs and World Series, and they have roster crunches. And they have better players than us. They have better players in the minors. They have better, and so when they cut a guy, it's not necessarily us waving Josh Van Meter, right? It's a guy that they probably didn't want to necessarily waive, but they had to go with someone with maybe a better track record, a little more experience, because they're counting on this person to pitch, in important baseball games down the stretch and then into the playoffs. So you're right. He's an interesting guy. That changeup, it's tonight. It was a very effective pitch, and sure, he gave up a solo home run to Bobby Witt Jr. He won't be the last guy to do that. So there you go. Anthony says 2.98 ERA and 24.2 inning pitch. I mean, let's hope continues on. He's got a great shot at the rotation, as just about 23 other guys do. But he's got the big frame. He looks, like I said, he's got a pretty good out pitch there. I want to see more of him. I don't want to see him. I don't want to see him in the bullpen quite yet, especially with what we got going on now. Let him get maybe 4 or 5 more starts. See what happens.
You mentioned a few things, right? One, let's kind of go back to the Dodgers, and this is something that I mentioned when you first kind of when we first saw him, right? He has a track record, right? Like, he actually has some pedigree with the Dodgers organization. And like, the Dodgers are a little bit different team because, like you mentioned, you're not just the Dodgers have a lot of good players in the organization, right? So sometimes they've got to cut ties with guys who don't suck, right? Whereas with the Pirates, if the Pirates are DFAing somebody, that player sucks, right? The Dodgers, it's a little bit different story. Andre Jackson, he was named to a futures game roster, right, as a prospect. So like, the guy has pedigree. He's shown, flashes of being a really good pitcher throughout his career in the minors. In the majors, he really hasn't even been all that bad, right? It's just kind of the Dodgers, like you mentioned, just had that roster crunch, right? You look at his previous, he hasn't had a ton of work in the majors, but outside of his, short stint with the Dodgers earlier this year, he's been pretty good. But I think you're seeing a guy who has a starter's arsenal, right? So, you mentioned that out pitch, the changeup was on tonight, especially early on. Kind of faltered a little bit down the stretch, but he was getting a bunch of swings and misses with that changeup. He's not afraid to throw to righties either, which a lot of right-handed pitchers are. The fastball, it's not overpowering by any means, but he seems so far to have pretty decent command of it. That's kind of been his big issue, really, his whole career from the minors on up, is the long ball, which you would expect that's probably coming from just like a command issue, because the stuff does look pretty decent. Slider didn't generate any swings and misses today, but it was all weak contact. But the changeup is what makes him right. That's what makes him interesting.
Right. He's able to speed guys up and then slow them back down. And you're right. It can be very effective if he uses it appropriately. And it seems like that he did most of the night. He said that he faltered a little toward the end, but he has not been getting a lot of innings. He's got to build up a little. So, again, he did a fine job tonight. And it's like I said, more than we had any right to ask. At the beginning of this game, I thought, oh, it looks like it's going to be another bullpen game, right? And he went out in 2/3, and the bullpen did not get very taxed in this series. They got tomorrow off, fresh for the juggernaut that is St. Louis.
Yeah, and I think the bullpen game is a problem, because we've seen this starting rotation. There's basically 2 of them, right? There's 2 guys and then 3 TBAs. And Jackson, he went longer. You kind of expected. I didn't really know what to expect tonight, if he was going to go, like a traditional starter, or if he was just going to give you like 2 or 3 innings. But he goes into the 6th. Again, can't ask for more out of Andre Jackson than what you got from him today. he comes out, the rest of the bullpen closes the door again. Like this lineup for the Royals is bad. Like I think we do need to reiterate that this is a bad Royals team. But Holderman, Bednar all come in. Bednar gives up a leadoff triple in the ninth, but then doesn't allow him to score. So he made things. I think he just wanted to make things a little bit more hard on himself. And maybe I think it was just going to be too boring, right? To just have another 1, 2, 3 outing. So he gave up the triple, spotted them a man on third, and then still got out of it without giving up a run.
It was a great route run by G1 Bay there.
Yeah, G1 Bay, late defensive replacement. I don't know if anyone would have actually gotten to that ball.
No, I'm not sure, but
yeah,
he wasn't going through the way he was going.
If he plays it correctly, it's probably a double. But but Bednar's first game in 5 days. He hadn't pitched prior to this in the series, so it was nice to get him some work. Got him his 29th save of the season. Any thoughts on Bednar, Holderman, Hatch, any of those guys?
I mean, this bullpen certainly has the potential to be above average, right? There's some arms out there, and there's some talent. They sure do like to make things a little interesting, but I mean, Holderman's got 23 saves now, right? I mean, I'm sorry, holds. Holderman's got 23 holds. Bednar's got 29 saves. That's a pretty good back end, right? I mean, again, it gets a little nerve-wracking, and Bednar's not quite as dominant in the second half he is in the first half. I wish he would take his conditioning a little more seriously. But hey, I mean, he's lights out. I mean, you definitely feel like the game is over when he comes in, and are shocked when it doesn't go that way. So
I think there's a lot of teams out there that would take Holderman, Bednar as like their 8th, 9th guys. And the Pirates, and the Pirates got it. So it's nice that is one thing that I guess has come out of this season is, Holderman. He hasn't been completely dominant all year, but he has turned into somebody that you can rely on for the most part.
Yeah.
Let's shift gears. Offensively, the Pirates jumped on Zerpa today, who another bad pitcher they faced from the Kansas City Royals. Brian Reynolds gets things started in the first inning with a solo homer, his 19th home run of the year. He also added another hit. He is up to, he's getting close to that 800 OPS mark. Like one more good game, and he's pretty much there.
2 hits on Friday, right? He could be there. It's nice to see. A month ago, I didn't think he was going to get to 20 home runs. I didn't think he stood a chance. And now it's like, wow, 25's in play. So I'd like to have him play at this level all year long, obviously, but I feel much better going into the offseason with what he's doing now. I mean, he's our guy. He's our man right now, and he looks great. He looks terrific. So definitely looking good since the All-Star break. Need him to finish strong. Like I said, you kind of want him to finish this year off like the Brian Reynolds we know and love. That way you have a pretty good idea and a pretty good you want to feel good about Brian Reynolds going into 2024. Right.
So right now he's certainly doing that over the last month or so. So just needs to keep that up here before the end of the season. What else? Peguero doubled, then back-to-back doubles by Peguero and Capra in the second inning. Sawinski getting in on the action too with an RBI single in the second. Right. Pirates added on 2 more runs in that second inning. It almost looked like this game was going to be a laugher. It was like 3-0 in the second. Zerpa looked terrible. He did settle in eventually after that, and the Pirates didn't score again until the 7th when Jack Sawinski he busts out of that
choking up,
right? Busts out of the slump. He crushes a ball, his 22nd homer of the year. Doug, did we witness the beginning of a Jack Sawinski hot streak tonight?
You have to think so, right? I mean, don't you think he's going to go into St. Louis and leave with 27 home runs, right? I mean,
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's been the pattern.
Mhm.
The hot streak might only last through the weekend. And then, he's got 2 hits in him the rest of the season. But look, I'll take it. Get us another sweep. Let us have a 6-game win streak to finish the month of August. I mean, we've got to take our improvements where we can. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say about Jack Sawinski. I don't know what to think. My only hope is that, again, he improved from last year to this year. Hopefully we know he'll put in the work. I mean, the Pirates certainly, I can't imagine they're going to give up on him in any way, shape. I mean, next year, center field is Sawinski and Bay. I don't think they're going to do anything beyond that. I would love them to go get just a good defensive center fielder that, could be an average hitter, but I don't see it happening. So fingers crossed that this is the start of a hot streak, and fingers crossed that this is maybe the start of him just getting back on track.
Yeah. I think Sawinski, like at this point, I think you still have to play the guy every day. Because the other options just
there aren't
very appealing.
Bring Gorski up. I mean,
yeah. So I'm fine with Sawinski getting every day at bats. I think where he's at in the lineup this last week or so is probably the best spot for him. He's hit 7th today.
Absolutely. Right.
You've kind of seen him in that 7th, 8th slot for the last week. And I think that's good. It's taken some pressure off of him. Hopefully, he had 2 hits today. I think he even had a hit yesterday. He had a hit on Monday. So he's on a 4-game hitting streak. Hopefully this is it's not much, but hopefully it's something. And a dominant series in St. Louis would certainly be enjoyable, and I would welcome that with open arms.
Absolutely. I tweeted out hey, it's a good a time as any for a Sawinski hot streak. I'll there's no bad time for him to go 7 for 10 with 4 home runs.
Yep. Vinny Capra, RBI double.
Yeah. His first extra base hit, his first RBI, I think. Yeah.
First extra base hit, first RBI. I think those are both correct statements there. Yeah. Good for him. He's got the opportunity, and he hasn't looked completely terrible, in his very limited opportunity, but I do wish though that I'd rather see Triolo get those at bats.
Yeah, me too. I mean, or even Gonzalez, to be honest with you. I mean, he's a little hot again. I don't think Vinny Capra is part of the future. So, and I don't know that Nick Gonzalez or Jared Triolo is. And maybe it's just because they've been with our organization and I'm a little more familiar with them or what have you. But yeah, I mean, Triolo to me looks like a really good utility man. And I'd like to see more of him. And he was playing well enough. He does well in the runners in scoring position situations, plays all the positions defensively well. Yeah, I would prefer to see him up in there, but Capra's here, and if he does what he did tonight a couple times, good for him.
Yep. Not a whole lot else offensively. Andrew McCutchen still looking for homer number 300. Really, ever since he's got that 299, he's been a little bit of a slump. He's had 1 hit since August 23rd.
Right. Remember he was at 297 for an awfully long time.
He was.
And then he got 2 in I think 3 or 4 days to get him to 299. I mean, when he was at 297, I'm like, oh no, please, he's got to get it this year. I didn't want him to get it to tonight because I had initially planned to go to tonight's game and then the first game in the St. Louis series. and that wasn't able to work out. I'm like, oh, if he hits 300 at a game that I fully intended to go to all year long, I'm going to be bitter. But yeah, I want him to get it. I want him to get it out of the way. It's weighing on him a little. I think they said, his it'd be a milestone that also would put him in a group of 13 players that had 45 triples, 300, this, 2,000 hit, all that sort. But there was a whole collection of things. But it was Willie Mays and George Brett, and I mean, he has been a really, really great player. And I think because his dominance was, a short time, and then he didn't have that sort of just slightly above average stretch. He kind of just fell off so badly that he's kind of underrated now. He has been a terrific major league player. He's having a wonderful career.
Yeah.
So I'd like to, let him get some of these milestones, let him pad the stats some next season. Just getting a bat in a Pirate playoff game, again, as soon as possible. That would just be a great story for him.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably the best Pittsburgh Pirate to wear that uniform since Barry Bonds.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the best one of this century, right? I mean, I don't think there's any real competition for that. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's been great. And he just the way he's bonded with the city, it just, I mean, that kind of player fan relationship is rare. And especially for Pirates, because we don't keep anybody very long. So, it's hard to build that. And he came in and had such an impact. He was part of turning around 21 years of losing.
Yeah.
Did all these great things for us. And it's great to have him back. And he's had a much better season than I thought he was going to. And it would just be great if he could, get number 300 this weekend.
What do you think about Sean's question there? Should he make the Hall of Fame?
I used to not think so. When we first signed him, I didn't think so at all. But when you start looking at some of these numbers, and when you look at, right, I mean, I don't think anyone's going to get 3,000 hits again, right? Or it's some guy that's at 2,800 now, right? But I don't think any of the guys who've been playing, in the past 10, 15 years, like 3,000 hits is not a thing anymore. So, he's plays another year or two, ends up with 20. It's possible. I mean, MVP, he had several, 2 or 3 top 3 finishes in the MVP. He's won a Gold Glove. He's won Silver Sluggers. He's made All-Star teams. He hasn't had playoff success, and that hurts. And again, just that the knee injury, I think it took a lot out. But I wouldn't be mad. But he's very, very borderline, right? And maybe as we get further away.
Yeah, he's definitely borderline. If you look at just like center fielders in general, or just let's kind of count him as a center fielder for his career. If he makes the Hall of Fame, he'd certainly be one of the lower tier center fielders to make the Hall of Fame. I mean, he's kind of in there with like the mold of like Torrey Hunter, with the difference being that McCutchen did have those like few years of being absolutely dominant, right? That's where McCutchen, I think, has, like, if you're going to make an argument for Andrew McCutchen, the argument is there was a 4-year stretch where Andrew McCutchen was a top 3 player in the National League, like for 4 straight years, right? So that's it's. I think
it was great. It's his longevity numbers that don't, because like I said, that was a stretch there where he was as good as anybody.
Yep, I think that's what's going to hurt him ultimately. Like, I don't think he ends up making the Hall of Fame, but he's certainly a very good player who Pirates fans will hold near and dear to their hearts forever. I would imagine 22 will be a retired number by the Pirates.
Yeah, absolutely.
He'll be like the first like new guy inducted into that Pirates Hall of Fame. Like he's
the first from this century for sure, right? I mean, well, I don't know. I can see, I guess, guys like Jack Wilson and some of the others are, they might make it at some point. But I mean, he's the guy, right? For like you said, since Barry Bonds. I mean, he is going to get every Pirate accolade possible, and deservedly so.
Yeah.
And I just wonder as we get further away and as we see that, like, nobody's going to win 300 games again, nobody's going to get 3,000 hits again, that then you go back and look at some of these guys a little differently, right? We're still sort of hung up on those numbers from the past.
Yeah.
Not just the steroid numbers, but like I said, the longevity numbers of, things like 3,000 hits. I mean, Dave Parker's not in the Hall of Fame, and I think he's got 2,700 hits. He's got over 300 home runs. So, it's hard to make an argument for, and he won a World Series. He was also an MVP. He won 2 batting titles. And I mean, to me, he should be in. There should be no doubt. He's one of those guys that the writers are punishing,
Yeah.
I mean, silly, but yeah, he, and I guess, McCutcheon's probably a little closer to the Al Oliver case, which Al Oliver has a really good case too, but, they're, like I said, Kutch's dominance was 3 or 4 years. If it was 7, right, it'd be a different case.
It's just tough as an outfielder. There's so many really good outfielders that, you sometimes you get lost in the shuffle, like on a national stage. So I think he could eventually get in, like Harold Baines eventually got into the Hall of Fame. If Harold Baines can get into the Hall of Fame, Andrew McCutchen deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. So
that's for sure. I lived in Chicago when saw lots of Harold Baines games and loved him, thought he was great. I don't think I ever once thought he was as good as Kutch was at his prime.
Yeah.
Or, he was a nice, solid, consistent player. But I never thought he was as good as McCutchen was when McCutchen was doing his thing there. So,
yep. Well, it's a Pirates complete the sweep. So they're playing some good ball right now. They are now 50.
I believe they are 61 and 73.
61 and 73. They're creeping ever so close to that Vegas over-under number, which I think was 66 and a half.
66 and a half, because Doug has a bet on that he's hoping to cash in early next week.
So you need 6 more wins.
Right.
More wins to cash that bet.
I want that St. Louis sweep. So,
and yeah, I mean, we went into this week saying, you know what, they're about to play some bad teams. This is an opportunity to stack some wins because the Pirates, obviously not a good baseball team, but they clearly showed this series that they are better than the Royals.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's something, right? I mean, I've always said the process to becoming a good team is the first step is that you have to beat bad teams. And we've sort of mostly been doing that this year. We'll see if we can continue that on. And it'd be nice to sort of bury St. Louis this weekend, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's not much to take out of this season. If we could possibly finish ahead of St. Louis, I don't think I feel any better about the season necessarily, but it'd be something, right?
Well, it hasn't happened in 24 years.
Right.
Pirates haven't finished ahead of the Cardinals
since the Freak Show. There was like 90
years. So
97. 97. It was since the Freak Show year.
Yeah.
Wow. With our rousing 79 win season.
Crazy.
Yeah. Especially the 13, you win 98 games and we're still 2 games back or 3 games back.
Yeah. Well, they stay in the Central Time Zone. Off day tomorrow. Friday evening, Mitch Keller on the mound, following his brilliant performance earlier this past weekend. He will be facing Dakota Hudson in Game 1. And I think the Pirates right now are sitting about 3 games ahead of the Cardinals in the standings. So you go into St. Louis and you sweep, then you're all of a sudden up by 6 games on them.
Right.
Yeah, it's game over basically at that point.
That'd be great. Get the sweep. Get me win.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, this has been a terrible year. There's no getting around it. But if we could get to 73 or 74 victories, which is kind of the number everybody was predicting, we'll have got there in a circuitous way. But we got to take our. I mean, look, we could finish 500 over the last 40, 50 games. I mean, that's something, right? I mean, It doesn't. I mean, again, you never know how they're going to react in the offseason and what they're going to do. But I mean, you're seeing, and again, as long as it's driven by, Andy Rodriguez and Brian Hayes and Mitch Keller and Oviedo and Brian Reynolds, if Alfonso Rivas and Alika Williams are leading us to these victories, it won't be as significant. But if it's, if Andre Jackson keeps pitching down, in his next 4 starts, goes 6 and 7 innings and gives up 1 run, right, you're going to feel a lot better about, going into the offseason that maybe there's some pieces in place. Maybe there's some competition amongst good players for starting spots. It's a lost season. We're not going to accomplish much. Let's go into the offseason feeling a little better than we did in May and in June and most of July. So,
absolutely. Well, you got anything else to add, Doug?
No, it was a fun series. The Pirates played well. It was against a terrible team. So I'm glad they played well against a terrible team, right? Yeah. So
if you're gonna play a terrible team, you might as well sweep them. So
right.
That's what they did. So yeah, thanks guys for tuning in. Pirates finished the sweep of the Royals, like we mentioned.
I do have one other question.
Yes.
I mean, you're on fire with your predictions. What is your prediction for the Cardinals series?
2 out of 3.
2 out of 3.
2 out of 3. Yeah. But because Keller's going game 1, Oviedo's going game 3. Oviedo, obviously revenge game there.
He's pitched well against them twice, I think. Yeah.
Oviedo going to shove again on Sunday. Yep.
All right. Excellent.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. We'll be back. We may have an NS9 live tomorrow. We haven't really talked about it. I'm going to assume that we are, but you'll hear more about that later. I've got an Out of the Park stream coming tomorrow as well, but we will no doubt be back Friday for another post-game show. So thanks again for tuning in.
Right. Yeah, see you guys. Thanks.
All right. See you all.
Hey, you all. Thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucks.